The wording of verse 23 is important. Maybe it describes your soul today. There is a threefold emotional prayer that the writer wants you to realize what the people of God are going through. 40 years between Moses' murder of an Egyptian to him being on the backside of the mountain, and preceding that 400 years in Egypt. And they come to God in their plight, and they say, verse 23, they moaned, they shrieked, they called for help. The first word reflects their burden. The second word reflects their hurt. And the third reflects change. They went up to God, and we know they prayed in pain because it is expressed twice. We're told the reason of their prayer. Do you see it? Twice we're told, because of their slave labor. They want out of this. This is hard. They have suffered and hoped that changes of government would do it, and it didn't. Changes of generation would do it, and it didn't. Changes of policy would do it, and it didn't. The rescue and adoption of the Prince of Egypt, one of their own, would do it, and it didn't. And so they are now going to God in pain. This isn't light, chipper, church camp, spiritual narcotic high, happy clappy. This is a prayer in pain. Political change doesn't bring change. Prayer makes the difference. And notice, it is not an accident, God's response. It is also a threefold response. God heard, God looked, God knew. Now, from a storyteller point, you get the picture. God is distant. God is not talking to them. God is silent. Now he comes and he looks down to see. Now that distance begins to get close. This last word, God knew, to know, particularly used in the Old Testament, speaks of intimacy. It's the same word, by the way, in Genesis, where Adam knew his wife and she conceived. It is the same word used in Psalm 1:6, where there the righteous says, God knows the way of the righteous. What does that mean? It's not intellectual knowledge merely. Here to know. Is God coming down to painful, in pain, suffering children, his children? And it's coming down and stooping to their level to see what the situation therein is, to feel that situation, and more, to know what it's like to be them. This is not some ogre distant God who is unmoved. And this is made apparent if you go to chapter 3. There, God actually speaks to Moses and tells him why he's coming and revealing himself as the I Am. This is chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. What does he say? I know their suffering, so I have come down. I, to use a Bill Clintonism, feel their pain. God comes down, he sees them, he comes to their level, and he knows what it's like to be them. And he says there to Moses, I know their pain, and that is why I've come down to reveal myself. So in the long, dark years, you can always pray, knowing that praying in pain works.